I buried my husband's body in the backyard of our Hamptons estate that sweltering August night, the shovel biting into the earth like it was my own goddamn heart. Not a soul knew. Not the nosy neighbors with their Tesla lawns. Not the feds who'd been circling us like vultures for months. And as I patted the soil smooth under the rising moon, I whispered to the grave, "You thought you could bury me first, Victor? Watch me dance on your secrets." But here's the kicker. He wasn't even cold, yet when I realized the real gravediggers weren't 6 feet under, they were his family, my so-called in-laws, sharpening their pitchforks in the shadows of our Manhattan penthouse, ready to exhume every dime I'd clawed my way to earn. The summer of 2025 hit New York like a freight train soaked in bourbon and bad decisions. I'd just turned 42, but the mirror lied. Stress lines from boardroom battles etched deeper than the canyons in my career. Luna Hale, that's me. Self-made tech mogul, founder of HaleNet, the app that turned anonymous whistleblowing into a billion-dollar firewall against corporate crooks. Irony? My own marriage was the biggest scam I'd ever fallen for. Victor and I met at a gala in the Met, him in a tailored Zegna suit that screamed old money, me in thrift store vintage that whispered fight me. He was the charming scion of the Kensington dynasty, oil barons turned Wall Street wolves, with a family tree rooted in Pennsylvania fracking fields and branches reaching into every DC backroom. "You're a force," he'd said, clinking his scotch against my gin fizz. Like a storm in a bottle. We married 6 months later in a no-fuss City Hall ceremony, because who needs pomp when you've got passion? Or so I thought. The Kensingtons tolerated me at first. Margaret, Victor's mother, with her pearl-clutching Botox smile and a voice like crushed ice in a blender. "Darling, you're so innovative." She'd coo over Sunday roasts at their Upper East Side brownstone, her eyes flicking to my tattoos peeking from under my sleeves, remnants of a Brooklyn youth dodging foster homes. Harold, his father, was the silent type, nursing his third martini while muttering about disruptors ruining the game. And then there was Aunt Edith, the wild card, chain-smoking Virginia Slims on the balcony, dropping cryptic warnings like, "Family's a zero-sum Luna. Watch your sum." I ignored it all. Built HaleNet into a beast, expanded to DC and Silicon Valley outposts, even snagged a spot on Forbes' Power Women list. Victor? He consulted from our home office, which mostly meant golfing at Winged Foot and schmoozing lobbyists. Our life was a glossy Instagram reel, yacht weekends in the Sound, charity balls where I'd schlep for progressive causes while he'd wink at oil execs. But cracks spiderwebbed early. Late nights he'd vanish to meetings, returning reeking of cigar smoke and regret. I'd confront him, and he'd deflect with that boyish grin. "Babe, it's Kensington business." Ancient history. Ancient history hit like a subpoena on a Tuesday in June. The FBI knocked while I was mid-Zoom with investors, flashlights slicing through the penthouse blinds like accusatory fingers. "Ms. Hale, we're investigating embezzlement from Kensington Energy's offshore accounts. Your husband's linked, and so are you." My stomach dropped faster than the Dow during a tweet storm. Victor? Embezzlement? The man who couldn't balance a checkbook without me? They hauled him in for questioning, but not before Margaret swept through our door like a hurricane in Chanel, her face a mask of righteous fury. "This is your doing, Luna. Your radical apps, stirring up whistleblowers, it's poisoned him." Harold loomed behind her, red-faced, pounding a fist into his palm. "We built an empire, and you? You're the termite gnawing at the beams." Edith just watched from the corner, exhaling smoke rings that curled like nooses. Victor confessed that night, or what passed for it. Over takeout Thai in an interrogation room I wasn't allowed into, he spilled to the feds. I'd pressured him into siphoning funds from his family's slush accounts to fund HaleNet's growth. Lies, all of it. But the paper trail? Forged emails, doctored transfers, my name stamped on every illicit wire like a scarlet letter. "She made me officers," said it'd saved the company from her bleeding heart crusades. I watched the footage later, leaked by some sympathetic agent, his eyes dead as he sold me out. Betrayal? This was vivisection. The in-laws circled like sharks scenting chum. Margaret filed for conservatorship over Victor's assets. our assets, claiming I was unstable from the stress of my failed ventures. Harold's lawyers descended, petitioning to freeze HaleNet's accounts under marital entanglement. Even Edith, that sly fox, whispered to the tabloids, "Poor Luna, always the outsider." Victor tried to save her from herself. The headline screamed, "Tech Titaness or Thief. HaleNet heiress accused in billion-dollar heist." I lawyered up with Rebecca Stein, a pitbull from Brooklyn who'd shredded Enron execs for breakfast. But the damage? Nuclear. Investors bolted, stock plummeted 40% overnight, and my board, hand-picked loyalists, started whispering about stepping down for the good of the shareholders. Victor posted bail on Margaret's dime and holed up in the Hamptons estate, radio silent except for a single text, "Sorry, Lou. Family first. Family first." Those words festered like an open wound. I'd always played the outsider, the hustler bride who proved her worth in spreadsheets and code. But I'd covered for him once, God, that one time. 5 years in, when Kensington Energy's fracking ops leaked toxins into a small-town aquifer in Pennsylvania, poisoning wells and birthing defects in local kids. Victor panicked, begged me to hack the reports, bury the data in HaleNet servers under anonymous tips that'd never surface. "It's one favor, babe. For us." I did it, thinking love meant shielding your partner from their own demons. That secret? The feds never found it, but it chained me to him like invisible cuffs. Nights blurred into a haze of depositions and double espressos. I'd pace the penthouse, floor-to-ceiling windows mocking me with views of the Hudson churning black under sodium lights. One evening, as thunder rattled the glass, I cracked open Victor's forgotten laptop, password Kensington King, the arrogant prick. Buried in encrypted folders, not just the embezzlement blueprints, but a ledger of payoffs. Bribes to regulators, silenced whistleblowers, even a slush fund for family protection. And there, in neon clarity, my name, forged as the mastermind. But deeper? Proof he'd planted it all, framing me to inherit clean when the empire crumbled. Rage boiled, pure and American, the kind that built revolutions and burned cities. I didn't cry. I planned. HaleNet had backdoors, shadows I'd coded for just this, digital ghosts that could unravel fortunes with a keystroke. But revenge? It had to be surgical, Shakespearean. Make them beg, then twist the knife with a smile. First move. Feign the breakdown. I collapsed at a press conference, tear-streaked and trembling, mumbling about Victor's coercion to a sea of flashing cameras. The narrative flipped. Victim, not villain. Sympathy shares spiked and my stock? A tentative rebound. Margaret seethed in voicemails. Pathetic theater, Luna. Will strip you bare. Good. Let them come. They did, en masse. A family intervention at the brownstone, under the guise of reconciliation. Harold poured scotch like it was holy water, Margaret droned about legacy, and Victor, oh Victor, sat across the oak table, eyes pleading. "Lou, I messed up. But sign this prenup revision and we move on. The Kensingtons forgive." The document? A Trojan horse, ceding HaleNet equity to a trust in their names, dissolving our marriage with me penniless. I sipped my club soda, letting silence stretch like a noose. Edith caught my eye, flicking ash into a crystal ashtray, her lips twitching and wet. Amusement? Warning? "Family's a zero-sum, dear," she murmured again. I signed, pen scratching like claws on coffin wood. Their cheers echoed hollow. Victory lap for fools. That night, back in the penthouse, I activated Phase 1. A HaleNet ping to anonymous drops. Leaked docs, timestamps irrefutable, painting the Kensingtons as the puppeteers. By dawn, CNBC blared. Kensington Empire in turmoil. Insider fraud rocks oil dynasty. Victor called, voice cracking. "What have you done?" I laughed, low and lethal. "What you've taught me, darling. Family first." But as sirens wailed distant in the night, I felt the first twist of the knife. Not theirs, mine. Edith's parting words at the brownstone haunted. "Watch your sum." What sum? And why did her eyes gleam like she knew the grave I'd dig next? The fallout was biblical, the kind of chaos that makes Manhattan feel like Sodom with better bagels. Victor holed up tighter in the Hamptons, his consulting gigs evaporating faster than a trust fund trust. Margaret went full scorched earth, lawyering up with the same sharks who devoured Theranos, filing countersuits accusing me of defamation and marital sabotage. Harold? He stroked out mid-board meeting. Mild, they said, but the tabloids milked it. Oil patriarch falls. Hale's revenge? Edith vanished to her Palm Beach condo, radio silent, but I caught whiffs of her, anonymous tips to my investigators, breadcrumbs leading nowhere.
Me?
I thrived in the storm. HaleNet's user base swelled 300% overnight. Whistleblowers flooded in, drawn to the drama like moths to a bonfire. Stand with Luna merch popped up on Etsy, t-shirts with my tattooed fist raised against a crumbling oil rig. Protests clogged Wall Street, kids in keffiyehs chanting for corporate crucifixion. It was messy, polarizing. Half the country hailed me as a feminist avenger, the other as a vengeful harpy destroying American jobs. Fox called me the original cancel queen, CNN dubbed me the whistleblower's whisper. I didn't care. Controversy was currency and I was minting it. Phase 2. Divide and conquer. Victor was the linchpin, the weak link in their gilded chain. I drove out to the Hamptons under cover of a nor'easter, wipers slapping rain like accusations. The estate loomed gothic against the dunes, shingled monstrosity with widows' walks where ghosts of gilded age robber barons probably still schemed. He answered the door shirtless, stubble shadowing that jawline I'd once traced with my lips. Lou? Christ, get in before the storm eats you. We talked, or fought, in the library, fire crackling like suppressed gunfire. Bookshelves groaned under leather-bound tomes on manifest destiny and market manipulations. You framed me, I said flat, no tears. For what? To play martyr to Mommy's throne. He paced, scotch sloshing in a tumbler. It wasn't like that. Dad's sick, cancer, stage 3. The feds were closing in on the fracking cover-up. I needed an out, a scapegoat. You were always the outsider. They'd believe it. The fracking. My secret sin. The one I'd buried for him. Wells poisoned, kids with leukemia stats spiking like bad code. I covered for you, Victor. Hacked the data, hid the bodies, metaphorically. His laugh was bitter, broken. And I loved you for it. But family. Margaret found out about us, the tattoos, your radical lapse. She said you'd drag us down. So I flipped the script. Signed your name to the wires. Planted the seeds. Flipped the script. There it was, his MO, the Kensington curse. Loyalty as a switchblade, cutting whichever way the wind blew. But in his eyes, flickering firelight, I saw the boy from the gala, scared and scheming. Help me fix it, Lou. Edith, she knows things. Back channels, dirt on the feds. We team up, bury this together. Edith. The ghost in the machine. I dismissed her as the eccentric aunt, but now, she was the wild card, the one who'd murmured warnings while chain-smoking judgment. Where she fit. I pressed. Victor shrugged, evasive. Always playing both sides. Says the family's rotten, but takes the checks. Last I heard, she's in Miami, cutting deals with some Cuban exile lobby. I left at dawn, rain easing to mist, his kiss on my cheek tasting like goodbye. Back in the city, I dug. HaleNet's tendrils reached far, AI scrapers combing dark web forums, facial rec on socials. Edith surfaced in grainy photos, silver hair cropped punk short, arm in arm with a Silver Fox attorney at a key Biscayne fundraiser. Exposing corruption, from oil to opioids. Her bio? Disbarred in '09 for ethical lapses in a pharma whistleblower case, now a consultant for NGOs. But the donations? Funneled back to Kensington PACs. Double agent through and through. I reached out via a burner. Auntie, fancy a chat?
Luna.
No cameras, no cuffs. Her reply pinged hours later. The Rusty Pelican, 8 p.m. Come alone, Storm Girl. Miami hit like a fever dream, Neon-soaked Art Deco strips bleeding into swampy Everglades, air thick with salt and sin. The Pelican was a dive off the beaten path, tiki torches sputtering against the dusk. Edith nursed a mojito at the bar, Virginia Slim dangling like a fuse. You look like hell warmed over, kid.
Seek.
Drink. We talked betrayal over conch fritters, her voice a gravelly drawl laced with Philly edges. Victor's always been a chameleon, slithers from sun to shade.
But you?
You're the catalyst. That fracking hack? Brilliantly stupid. Saved his ass, doomed yours. She slid a thumb drive across the scarred wood. Insurance. Emails, recordings, Margaret's playbook. She's the architect, always has been. Pushed Harold into the bribes, groomed Victor to flip on anyone for the throne. Why me? I whispered, pulse thundering. Edith's eyes, sharp as switchblades, softened a fraction. Because you're clean, Luna.
Real.
We Kensingtons? We're wrought in silk. I tried warning you, zero-sum. But you signed anyway. She tapped Ash, contemplative. Twist, I'm out. Divorcing the dynasty, taking my cut south. Join me? We burn it all. Feds get the docs, you get the narrative.
Alliance?
Or another flip. Her grin was Cheshire, promising chaos. I pocketed the drive, nodded.
Deal.
But if you snake me. She laughed, throaty. Family first, right?
Nah, kid.
Survival second. Back in New York, the drive was dynamite. Margaret's voicemails escalated to threats. Slanderous witch. We'll own your soul. Harold stabilized, but whispers of a Kensington merger with a Saudi fund. To diversify. Code for laundering. Victor texted sporadically. Miss you. Edith's poison. Don't trust. I ignored, plotting phase 3. The flip. It dropped mid-September, Labor Day, hangover lingering like regret. HailNet broadcast. Kensington Confessions. Redacted audio of Margaret greenlighting the frame job. Timestamps tying to the fracking ghosts. The internet imploded. Kensington collapse trended. Protesters stormed their HQ with effigies of oil-slicked pigs. Victor called, frantic. Lou, stop. They're coming for all of us. Margaret countersued for billions. But the feds? They raided the brownstone at dawn. Agents in tack vests hauling servers like captured warlords. I watched from a safe house in Brooklyn. Edith on speaker from her condo. Beautiful carnage, she purred. Now, the real play. Victor's weak. Offer him the out, immunity for testimony. I hesitated. Love's corpse twitched in my gut. And if he flips again? Her silence stretched. Then you bury him. Figuratively. Or not. The call to Victor was surgical. Testifi, beak. Against them. Weary build clean. His breath hitched. You'd forgive? Lies came easy now. For us? Always. He agreed. But as I hung up, a ping from the drive's metadata. Edith's watermark, embedded deep. Not just insurance, a kill switch. One email to the feds, and my fracking hack surfaces. Blackmail? Or loyalty test? The game flipped again, mirrors shattering into infinities of doubt. October chilled the air, leaves bleeding red on Central Park paths. Protests swelled, counter-protests clashed, MAGA hats screaming, deep state witch hunt, blue hairs waving, justice for Luna signs. I walked the paths alone, locket for my mother, foster kid's talisman, clutched tight. Victor's testimony loomed, a sword over all our necks. But Edith's shadow loomed larger. Was she savior or serpent? And me? Avenger or architect of my own abyss? One night, insomnia clawing, I cracked the locket. Inside, a micro-SD, my mother's scrawl on the foil. Truth cuts deepest, Luna. Wield it. Downloaded, grainy footage, 1990s timestamp. A young Margaret, pregnant belly straining her power suit in a clinic waiting room. Adoption papers for a baby girl.
Me? No.
The name, Edith Kensington, disowned daughter, given up in shame. Twist upon twist. Edith was an aunt. She was sister. Banished for scandal, a teen pregnancy that could have tarnished the dynasty. raised in shadows, flipping sides to claw back in. Zero-sum indeed. She wasn't saving me, she was settling scores through me. Rage reignited, pure now. Phase 4. The Reckoning. But as sirens wailed closer, Victor's car pulling up unannounced, I wondered. Bury the bodies, or become one. November draped the city in gunmetal grays, Thanksgiving turkeys roasting while the nation digested scandal like bad turkey. Victor's testimony dropped like a guillotine on Black Friday, live-streamed from a federal courthouse, his face gaunt under fluorescent hell. I acted under duress from my mother, Margaret Kensington, he intoned, voice steady as scripted lies. She orchestrated the frame on my wife, Luna Hale, to protect family assets amid embezzlement probes. Gasps rippled through the gallery. Outside, crowds surged, a polarized mob, half cheering my vindication, half hurling epithets at the snitch son. Margaret watched from the defendant's table, her Botox cracking into fissures of fury. Harold, wheeled in on oxygen, wheezed denials. The feds lapped it up, indictments flying like confetti at a funeral. Kensington Energy's stock cratered 70%, board fleeing to private jets bound for Dubai. Edith? She texted from Miami. Bravo, puppet master. Your boy's flip was poetry. Now, cash the check. Your cut's wired. My cut. HaleNet valuations soared. Buyout offers flooding from Google to Ghost Core in the Caymans. Rebecca Stein high-fived over Zoom. Your Teflon Luna. Sue for defamation. Countersue for emotional distress. Billions incoming. But the high soured quick. Victor showed at the penthouse post-testimony, hollow-eyed, a ghost in cashmere. It's done, Lou. They're done. Marry me again? Clean slate. Clean slate. The words curdled. I poured us Manhattans, rye sharp as regret, and laid it bare. The fracking Vic. I know you leaked it to the feds. Anonymously, sure, but your fingerprints. His flinch confirmed. Had to, babe. Total immunity.
Edith.
She pushed. Said it'd free us.
Edith.
Always the flipper. Her sister's strings now mine. We argued till the skyline bled orange at dawn, accusations ricocheting like .38 specials. You used me, he roared. Framed you first, fair trade. Fair? In America's meritocracy myth, maybe. But love's ledger doesn't balance. He stormed out, slamming the door on our wreckage. Hours later, news alert. Victor Kensington, suicide attempt, pills and bourbon in a Montauk motel. Lived, they said. Coma, touch and go. Guilt gnawed, a rat in my ribs. I'd push too? Or was it the flip's weight, the Kensington curse claiming its prince? Margaret called from lockup, voice venom through the line. You killed my son, you tattooed tramp. When I walk, I'll gut your empire. Threats from a cage. Empty calories. But Edith? She arrived uninvited, wheeling in from the airport like a Silver Storm oracle, crashing my Soho loft with Cuban coffee and contraband cigars. Sister, she started, no preamble, lighting up despite the sprinklers. I froze, locket burning against my skin. You knew. She nodded, exhaling twin streams. Margaret's dirty secret, knocked up by the pool boy, 88. Disowned me at birth, but I clawed back as Aunt Edith, the loyal fool. Watched you at Victor, saw the spark. Pushed the warnings to test you. You passed, signed the noose, but slipped it. Slipped it? Or tightened my own. We talked till midnight oil burned low, her banishment, Foster Mills mirroring mine, a shared scar of abandonment. Zero sum's a lie, she confessed. It's infinite if you redistribute. Her plan, merge our shadows. Her NGO networks, my tech arsenal, expose not just Kensington's but the whole rot. Big oil to big pharma, a whistleblower web to end them all. Twist the knife, global Luna. Be the storm, not the bottle. Tempting, that sisterhood siren song. But Victor's coma loomed, a biweekly vigil in sterile ICU white, machines beeping like accusatory Morse. He'd wake sporadically, mumbling my name, eyes pleading forgiveness I couldn't forge. Nurses whispered pity. Wife's a saint.
Saint?
or sinner, bearing sins not mine? December snow-blanketed the Hamptons estate. I'd reclaimed it via emergency injunction, ghosts of our life haunting every creek. One blizzard night, alone with the grave I'd imagined digging, reality intruded. A knock, faint, frantic. Harold escaped his nursing home, bundled in Burberry like a fallen czar. "Luna," he rasped, collapsing into the foyer.
Help.
"Margaret. She's flipping. Plea deal, names you in the fracking. Cover up queen." Flipping again. The matriarch, cornered rat gnawing her tail. Harold's story spilled over hearth fire, her orchestrating my frame to scapegoat the poison wells, Victor's suicide a feint, faked coma, prepped to testify against me for reduced sentences. "She's always plotted two graves, girl. Yours and mine." His hand, liver spotted, clutched mine. I was blind. Fracking. My sin. Save the boy. Save us. Us. The Empire's dregs, begging the termite for mercy. I called Edith, voice steel. Plans live. Leak the adoption docs, Margaret's skeleton closet. She hesitated, rare crack in the armor. "That outs me, sis." Dynasty dust. "Zero-sum," I echoed. "Redistribute or rot." The leak hit Christmas Eve, Walpo exclusive, Kensington heiress's hidden daughter, adoption scandal ties to toxic legacy. Photos of young Margaret juxtaposed with Edith's punk youth, irrefutable. Socials erupted. Sister scorn trended, pitting family loyalty against feminist fury. Was Edith victim or vulture? Margaret's plea imploded. She retracted, raging in court. Blood betrays blood. But the feds turned, offering her nothing. Victor woke that night, staged emergence, his testimony shredding. Luna innocent. Mother mastermind. Pandemonium. Protests fractured. Some burned Kensington effigies, others picketed HailNet as opportunist enabler. I fielded death threats from Oiltown militias, fan mail from Berkeley co-eds. Edith arrived at the estate, snow-dusted, bearing eggnog laced with rum. We did it. Empire's ash. But her eyes?
Wary.
"Harold's with you?" He was upstairs, bandaged, plotting escape to Canada. The flip continued. Victor joined at dawn, discharged against Ox, gaunt but grinning. Family reunion? Without Mom. The four of us, dysfunction's last stand, circled the breakfast nook, coffee steaming like unspoken pacts. Edith eyed Harold. He avoided her gaze. Victor reached for my hand. "Forgive." The question hung, heavier than holly. I'd borne their sins, the hack, the frame, the fractures. Revenge tasted like vindication, but soured to ash. Phase 5. Not burial, but building. "One condition," I said, voice steady. "All in. HailNet expands your networks, Edith, your contacts, Harold, your redemption, Vic. Or walk." They nodded, a fragile tetrad. But as snow swirled outside, my phone buzzed. Anonymous ping, metadata screaming Margaret's prison hacks. Attached, video, time-stamped last week. Victor, in the motel, not pills but injection, Edith's syringe glinting. "For the greater good," she whispered on tape. "Coma buys time. Flip the script, brother." Betrayal's hydra, endless heads. Sister, not savior. Flipper supreme. The room spun. Faces blurring into masks. Gun in the drawer. No. Too clean, too final. Instead, I smiled, pocketing the phone. "Merry Christmas, family. Let's eat." But inside, the storm brewed. They'd pay, not with graves, but ghosts. The real twist. I'd known. Lockett's SD had more. Edith's confession, recorded years back. Plotting through me. Zero-sum? I'd rewrite the math. New Year's Eve 2025 dawned crisp, the city shedding its skin like a serpent gorged on excess. Times Square pulsed with confetti cannons and corporate countdowns, but my world narrowed to the Hamptons estate, snow-blanketed fortress, where alliances thawed into uneasy truces. Victor hovered, doting with chamomile tea and tentative touches, his coma, a scar we didn't name. Harold tinkered in the library, drafting memoirs that whitewashed fracking into pioneering risks.
Edith?
She chain-smoked on the Widow's Walk, plotting our new empire. A HailNet offshoot, Veritas Vault, anonymizing global leaks from Caracas to Kiev. I played the unifier Luna Hail, Phoenix or Fool. Board meetings via satellite beamed my glow. Stock tripled, accolades raining from Davos to Detroit. Resilience redefined. Wired gushed. But nights? Sleepless vigils. Phone clutched like a grenade. The video looped in my mind. Edith's needle. Victor's compliant vein. Greater good. Whose good? Hers, always the flipper, using blood ties as ladders. January thawed the lies. Margaret's trial kicked off in federal court, a circus of power suits and perjured pauses. She took the stand, a venomous queen dethroned, her testimony a scalpel. My son, coerced by that Brooklyn brute, Luna Hale, into digital treason. The fracking? Her hack, her cover for radical agendas. Gasps, objections, the judge's gavel cracking like thunder. Victor testified counter, voice cracking authenticity. Mother's lies. Luna saved me from you. The jury split early, deadlock looming, mistrial whispers. Outside, the divide deepened. Pro-Kensington rallies in Houston waved blood over Bucks signs. My supporters countered with truth over tycoons, murals in Bushwick. Pundits feasted. Is Hale hero or hypocrite? Family vendetta or feminist fire? I fueled it, dropping teasers on HailNet, redacted chats hinting at deeper rot. Controversy? My oxygen. Edith cornered me mid-February, estate greenhouse fogged with her smoke. Orchids wilted under her glare. You're dragging feet on Veritas, sis. What's the play? Her eyes, mirror to mine. Margaret's eyes probed. I feign fatigue. Timing, Edith. Victor's fragile. Harold's leaks could tank us.
Lie.
I'd traced her offshore drops. Siphons from our cut. Funneled to Cayman ghosts. Flipping still, sisters skim for personal paradise. Victor sensed the fracture that night, over lobster bisque by the fire. You're pulling away, Lou. The video. I had to. Edith said it'd protect you. Coma buys sympathy, flips the narrative. Protect? Or puppet? I traced his wrist scars, needle pricks faint as regrets. And if I flip it now, leak the tape, his flinch was poetry. Don't. We're building. For us.
Us.
The word eroded, grain by grain. March brought the twist tempest. Harold's accident. Brake failure on the Merritt Parkway, plummeting into Long Island Sound. Lived, barely, paralyzed, they said. But the car? Tampered. Forensics whispered to my PI. Who? Margaret from jail? No, Edith's prints on the ghost keys. Victor's alibi a golf pro's wink. Confrontation brewed in the hospital vigil, beeps sinking our silences. It was mercy. Edith hissed in the hallway, white coat stolen for camouflage. Old man's rotting, cancer's eating him. Veritas needs clean hands.
Clean?
Hers dripped diesel. Victor, eavesdropping, paled. You said brakes, not. Edith, what the fuck? Flip exposed. She'd recruited him. Brother-sister pact to cull the weak, crown themselves via me. Rage crested, American raw, frontier justice in a sterile hall. I didn't scream.
Out.
Both of you. But they begged. Family Luna. Zero-sum. We rise together. Rise? On whose bones? April verdict. Mistrial for Margaret, retrial pending. She walked on technicals, a free fury straight to the Hamptons estate. Uninvited, unhinged. My house, she snarled, sweeping in with bail bondsman shadows. The face-off? Kitchen Coliseum. Dawn light slanting like judgment. You stole my son, my legacy, she spat. Victor shrank. Edith smirked from the stairs. Harold's nurse wheeled him mute witness. I stood firm. Locket open on the island, SD exposed. Legacy? Like abandoning your daughter? Or poisoning kids for profit? Her eyes bulged, recognition dawning.
Edith.
You told. Sister's betrayal landed like a gut punch. Not told, leaked. For the greater good, mother. Chaos erupted, Margaret lunging, Edith dodging, Victor restraining, family melee worthy of a Tarantino fever. I hit play. The full montage, fracking hacks, frame jobs, coma syringes, break ghosts. Your empire's a house of cards, I said calm. Burn it, or I do. They fractured then, true zero-sum. Margaret fled to lawyers. Harold signed over remnants to me, whispering, end it. Victor begged asylum. Run with me, Lou.
Canada. Edith?
She flipped last, offering alliance against the matriarch. Sisters stick, right?
No.
The climax crested that May equinox, estate blooming treacherous under lilac haze. I gathered them, all four, coerced by my hailnet summons. Final reckoning. Come, or the vault opens. They arrived piecemeal, Margaret armed with injunctions, Victor with pleas, Edith with cigars, Harold in a chair that rolled like fate. Circle in the library, fire roaring accusations. You've all used me, I began, voice steady as code. Bore your sins, hacks, frames, flips. But revenge? Not graves. Exposure. I triggered the upload. Veritas Vault Live, docs cascading, Kensington crimes, my confessions included. Fracking full, frame blueprints, even the coma charade. Whistleblower to the world, me included. Outrage split. Margaret held betrayal. Victor wept complicity. Edith laughed maniacal. Infinite sum. Harold nodded peace. Protests reignited, global now, London to Lagos decrying dynastic deceit. But me? Branded co-conspirator. Feds circling anew. Why confess? Victor gasped. Twists mercy. Truth's blade cuts all. Because clean slates are myths. We all flip, me too. Bearing sins to bury them. Ending?
Nota y dibao.
Hailnet dissolved under probes, but Veritas spawned 1,000 apps, leaks birthing reforms. Margaret imprisoned for perjury. Edith vanished to Havana, flipping revolutions. Victor? He stayed. Our marriage a scarred pact. Therapy Tuesdays. Tentative trust.
Me?
Luna Hale, free in fragments. Walking the Hudson paths. Locket light. I feel the divide. Hero to some. Villain to kin. Happy? Tragic? You decide. But in America's endless flip, one truth endures. Revenge isn't burial. It's rebirth. Thorns and all. And, if they come again, I'll dig deeper. Family first?
Nah. Me.